Hello and welcome everyone to the Stardom cast. This is episode 78. I hope you're feeling great. I hope this podcast doesn't catch you too late as we are on the train to the 5-star Grand Prix. We were just about 1 month left of this fantastic tournament, and as you can tell, I'm excited. I am on fire, and I am also your host, your friend, Matt Turner here, bringing you another fantastic loaded episode of the Stardom cast. Okay, folks, so again, I hope everybody's doing terrific. I did a little rhyming with the number 8. Trying to be a little creative over here. Hope some jokes. I got some jokes here on this lovely, fantastic day as we're winding down to the end of the summer and we're getting into the fall. So, okay, let's just jump right into it because we got 3 shows to review. Nights 9, Nights 10 of the 5-star Grand Prix, as well as New Blood 4 coming back for some more. See, I'm just rhyming. I'm rhyming over here, but I hope everybody's doing terrific. I hope you're better today than you were yesterday, and I hope you're better this week than you were last week. But yeah, really not much news. We'll get into the Stardom IWGP Women's Draft. We'll get into that before the Cork and Hall show and who the mystery person was or wasn't that Rasi Ogawa alluded to. But we'll get to that in a minute. We'll just kind of just breeze through New Blood 4 because it was a pretty quick show. And I am a big fan of how they're streaming these New Blood shows on YouTube. It makes you kind of scratch your head as wondering why they can't stream or upload some of the Stardom shows up on YouTube that quick, especially because there's such a high demand, for everything that's going on in the 5-star. It's catching such great buzz on social media, and sometimes you have to wait 3 or 4 days to see it. But we see that these New Blood shows streaming live right on YouTube. So, again, I don't know. We talk about that a lot. I'm not going to beat a dead horse because Stardom is awesome. Okay, New Blood 4. Like I said, boy, we're jumping right into it. I am fired up, and always so great to talk to the fantastic friends and family of the Stardom cast. So this show took place on the 26th of August, obviously 2022. Opening match, Tomoka Inaba representing Just Tap Out versus Hina. Some really great ground chain wrestling, really good catch wrestling to start. Sees Inaba that goes for the ankle lock on Hina a few times. Hina fires back with some really solid forearms. She locks in a very well-seated armbar for her first advantage of the match. Inaba really comes back with some really good strikes, and she wins with a penalty kick. This one, to me, just didn't seem to get out of second gear. I thought this was going to be a really good opener. It wasn't bad. I want to say it was even better than okay. I gave it the classic 3 stars. I thought that it was pretty good, but I was just expecting a little bit more from the 2, but maybe we'll see somewhere down the line. Match number 3 saw Lady C versus Ruaka versus, again, this is always Rob's forte and one of the many parts he's missed in this podcast when it comes to announcing some of the Japanese ladies that I've never seen before. So I'm going to give it a go here. Chiya Koshisakawa. Chiya Kawawa, maybe. This is kind of just the standard match here. 3 ways are kind of tough to do, but Chiya had some really good spunky and innovative offense. I was really impressed with her, but this one saw Ruaka get the pin over Lady C with the freezer bomb. We're just seeing Lady C taking a lot of falls in these New Blood shows. I kind of thought that maybe these New Blood shows would be somewhere where Lady C can get a whole bunch of wins and maybe kind of pull her stock up as going into some of the main shows in Stardom, but that remains to be seen. I gave this one 3 stars. Match number 3 saw the returning Waka Tsuyama teaming with Momoka Hanazu versus Rina and Ram K. Momoka Hanazu. I'm just going to call her Hanazu because I think I got that one right. Hanazu, she's very endearing. And she uses this device that shoots bubbles. I didn't understand why there wasn't a DQ there, folks. You know me. Hey, let's not break the rules here. I thought that would have been funny. She'd get DQ'd. Her and Waka worked really, really well together. And maybe this is somewhere down the line where we can see these 2 team up, maybe in other promotions or in these New Blood shows or in the Stardom Showcase shows. Because I thought they got along really well and they gelled really well together. Rina winds up picking the win up here with the Pink Devil, 3 1/4 stars. Again, pretty solid stuff here. Match number 4, oh boy, saw Linda and Mai Sakurai versus Saya and Momo Kogo. I was really excited to see Saya and Momo Kogo teaming up. Obviously, they're part of Stars, and They're one of the young and upcoming teams in Stardom, and I'm a big fan of seeing them team together. So I was pretty excited to see this match. Obviously, Mai Sakurai is improving so much with each and every outing, and I knew nothing about Linda until I basically saw her come in the ring almost like a dominatrix gimmick. So her and Mai Sakurai, mostly her, just using these like whips like consistently. And even to a point where like Saeed is like feeding for them. I'm like, why isn't there a disqualification? Like it's constantly being used. It even got to a point where Saeed goes for a pinfall attempt and the ref gets whipped with the the I guess the dominatrix whip. And I'm like, now you're abusing the ref. Like you're using like how can I'm kind of just going to move along with this one because, again, I don't like, if it's something that bothers me or something that I don't like, I'm not going to dwell on it because that's just not the type of person I am, and this isn't the podcast for that. Bottom line is I did not rate this match. This match went to a disqualification for the consistent use of the whips. So, yeah, no rating. Sorry. Move on to the next one. Okay, match number 5 saw Starlight Kid and Haruka Yamasaki versus Ami Sourei and Mirai, the God's Eye pair. This was another really, really good match. This was probably my favorite match of the show. I like how they're using Starlight Kid in these new blood shows too. I know she's probably drawing them some money. She is a big star for Stardom, and again, she's only 20 years old, 21 years old. So it's nice that she's still in this spot where they're using her for the new blood shows. So like giving these shows a little bit of kick with star power, and obviously Ami Sourei and Mirai. They're both crushing it in the 5-star. We'll get into that later. And it made sense for Ami Sourei and Mirai to pick up the win here. They did pick up the win here via disqualification. They will be challenging on the 11th of September for the Goddess of Stardom Championship against Tam and Natsupoi. The only thing I didn't understand is why they had to win via disqualification. You figured to give them a couple wins here to build up some momentum going into their Goddess of Stardom Championship match. So, I thought it was really cool. I thought this match was really solid. Starlight Kid and Mirai had some really, really good chemistry here. I'm really looking forward to their match coming up soon in the 5-star. Starlight Kid gets just drilled with a left-handed lariat from Mirai, which was like the highlight of the show for me. I thought that was a really good point there. And I was a big fan of like after she kicked out, like she wanted her to kick out. It's like the old Billy Robinson school of you kind of want them to get out of a move to set up another move. Like, open up one door. This way, when they come out of that door, you close the window on them. That's a very old, catch wrestling, British wrestling thing that Mariah, I've noticed that she's adopted really, really well, coming off her Cinderella win. So I thought that was, I was a really big fan of that. I had this one at 3 3/4 stars. Moving on to the semi-main event, the Future Stardom Championship is on the line. I like that. I like how they're putting belts on the line here in the new blood shows. Hana, the Future Stardom champion, versus Just Tap Out's Awai. Awai does a really good job targeting Hana's arm, and she even uses Konami's Triangle Lancer as they're building up towards the submission. Hana does a really, really great job of selling. Again, I'm constantly putting over how much better she's. Another one that's getting better with each and every outing here in the 5-star as well. Awai throws some really, really good chops. Hana uses that judo background to stop the challenger's onslaught. Hana hits a pair of pumping knees and a rocker dropper and the Rich Clutch Hana special for the win, 3.5 stars. And then Ami Sourei comes out, and she is the next challenger for Hana's Future Stardom Championship. So I think that might put an end towards Hana's, you're going to have a David versus Goliath battle. But we really haven't seen Hana when she's going in these Future Stardom Championship matches. You're kind of like, yeah, she's got a pretty good shot at retaining here. But I think, like Ami Sourei, I think a good majority of the Stardom fans are thinking that there's going to see a title change here. It's a very good possibility. So Ami Sourei's got 2 title matches coming up. She's got the one against Hana, and then she also has the like I talked about just a minute ago, the tag team, the Goddess of Stardom tag team championship match. So Ami Sourei could be looking at double gold, and she's almost in double digits here in the 5-star. So really good job spotlighting her, considering the fact she's only started with the company since the early spring, since April. Moving on to the main event, Tam Nakano defeats Miyu Amasaki. I had this one at 3.5 stars. I thought Miyu did a really good job selling Tam's strikes. Tam gave Miyu a little bit, but not a lot. Not as much as Julia did, not as much as Utami did. I think Miyu's best outing, at least in these new blood shows, was the Julia match. I've always alluded to that when Julia's working somebody younger and more, with the a lot less experience than her. She does a good job bringing them up, and that just shows you what just a great wrestler that Julia is by giving a younger opponent, somebody with less experience, shining them up, making them look good, and then her beating them in the end. Because if you kind of squash anybody, then who'd you just beat? But I think Tam gave her a decent amount here. I was a big fan of Miyu doing the great move, a handspring elbow. We really don't see her do that move too much in the regular Stardom, the Stardom proper shows. I think that would be something that I'd like to see her do, quite often. So I thought that was pretty good. I was a big fan of how Tam basically just blitzed her at the end with the big kicks and the violent shooting, and then the Tiger suplex for 3.5 stars. And really, the only big note to me, at least for me, coming out of this show, was that God's Eye has a new member. So I'm a big fan of Tomoka Inaba. I'm a big fan of her. I thought all of her stuff on these New Blood shows has looked really good. She had a fantastic Future of Stardom championship match against Hana, the one that went the time limit draw. So God's Eye has just another, bruiser. I mean, she's got really good strikes, really good submissions. The way she works that knee bar in, she throws really good kicks, and she's teaming with, she's gonna be in the same stable as Mirai and Ami Sourei, two of the biggest and most badass women in all of Stardom, and obviously their leader, one of the most badass wrestlers, not only in Stardom, but in the world today, the World of Stardom champion, Shuri. So nice to see God's Eye getting a fourth member, considering the fact that all the other factions seem to be growing by leaps and bounds. So they now have a fourth. So it's going to be very interesting to see her mix it up with the likes of Tam and these, maybe in like an 8-person tag match, or Mayu, Julia, et cetera, et cetera. So hats off to Stardom, because they just keep growing the roster, and they're picking the people that fit in perfectly, in my opinion, in certain places. So, okay, that was it for New Blood 4. Like I said, I thought it was a solid show. I don't think it was anything like, crazy, like a show of the year. I thought New Blood 3 was probably the best show so far. But it's a nice way to showcase some new talent that I haven't seen, and that if they do come back to Stardom or these New Blood shows, I will have to do a much better job of pronouncing their names. But hey, we're trying, we're working, we're working hard here. So, like I said, we're just trying to get better every single day. So, okay, little sip of water there. Let's move right into the 5 stars. So we go to Korakuen Hall. So the first things first, we have the IWGP Women's Bracket Lottery. So it was announced, it was built up on social media for about a week or so, that they were going to announce a major superstar that's non-Japanese, that's enormously famous. So we got Ava White, who I know very little about, and she's the first person announced in the international bracket. And then the next person announced is former World of Stardom champion, alpha female, also known as Jazzy Gabbert. So, and then we have somebody that's getting a bye, and we still don't know who that person is. So left a lot of people scratching their heads. I think a lot of people thought it might be Toni Storm, or a lot of people were really crossing their fingers, hoping it was Sasha Banks, maybe Britt Baker, maybe Jamie Hayter's coming back. But we didn't get any of that. So not really sure where they're going with this. But regardless, it's Jazzy, alpha female, when she was Jazzy Gabbert over here, or, over in the States, when she was doing the Mae Young Classic. She was getting over. Towards the end of the tournament, she did a really good job getting over. For some reason, WWE just kind of pulled a plug on her. So it's going to be interesting. I haven't seen her wrestle in probably since the Mae Young Classic, so it's been a few years. So interesting to see what she's going to do. It's interesting to see who's that person that has that bye into the semifinals. They did announce that the semifinals will be taking place at the New Japan Royal Quest 2 Electric Boogaloo over there in England. So we shall see. Again, rumors are running rampant as who the third international person will be. So comes down to 4 units will be picked. So they come out with the dreaded red sticks, and obviously you have Mayu representing Stars, you have Utami representing Queen's Quest, Starlight Kid representing Oedo Tai, Shuri representing God's Eye, Oedo Tai, God's Eye. Look at that, I'm rhyming like crazy today. And Julia representing Donald Del Mundo. So the 4 factions that were picked were Stars, Queen's Quest, Donald Del Mundo, and Oedo Tai. So they did make the announcement that after the 5 star, that's who we will find out who the other 4 wrestlers will be representing the units. Obviously, what Stardom did, they kind of already tipped their hat because the finals of this tournament is going to be taking place at the November Stardom X New Japan show. But they've already announced that, like, Julia's teaming with Zack Sabre Jr., Sherry's teaming with Tom Lawler, Starlight Kid, and Momo Watanabe are an 8-person tag with, against Tam Nakano and Natsupoi. So it's not going to be any of those. Maika's teaming up with Hiroki Goto. It's an awesome team. And Utami's teaming with Hiroshi Tanahashi. So it's not going to be any of them. So it's like, maybe they should have waited before they announced that. So this way you're not tipping your hat. So here's my prediction. Representing Stars, it's going to be Mayu. I mean, who else are you going to go with? She's not on the card as of yet for that show. She is the face of Stardom. I think it's going to be Mayu in the finals against whoever the person is getting the bye on the international bracket. Representing Queen's Quest, you can go one or two ways here. You can go with Saya Kamatani, or you can go with Izumi. I don't think to me, it's heads you wins, tails you wins. Obviously, it won't be Utami, as she's teaming with Hiroshi Tanahashi. Donna Del Mundo, I guess it's going to be Himeka, right? Because Maika's teaming with Hiroki Goto, Julia's teaming with Zack Sabre Jr., so I don't think it'll be Mei Sakurai. So that would be my pick. With Oedo Tai, you figured it'd be either Momo or Starlight Kid, but again, they're already booked for that show. So maybe it's Saki Kashima? I think that's not, unless it's Toro, not Nakazo Tora. Coming back. We haven't seen her in over a year, so maybe this is where she makes her return. Not really sure. After the picking of the factions, Julia and Starlight Kid get into a brawl, almost like setting up their main event match for later that night, and then not all of Oedo Tai, but the majority of Oedo Tai, they jump Julia, and then Rina Yamashita, she comes in and makes the save. Now, I'm not very familiar with much Joshi wrestling outside of Stardom, a little bit of Tokyo Joshi Pro, and I'm trying to educate myself a little bit better, but her I know. So I was, when I saw the tweets that she came in and helped Julia out, and she requested a hardcore match with her and Julia versus Momo Watanabe and Starlight Kid, and a tag match at a later date. I'm presuming maybe the Stardom Showcase Volume 2 would be my guess when that's going to take place. So that's going to be something interesting, because you wonder, with Natsupoi leaving Donald Del Mundo to go to Cosmic Angels, you wonder if Rina is going to be a permanent fixture in Donald Del Mundo, or is she going to be like somebody that they kind of switch in from time to time, kind of like how they're doing with the Colors faction with Cosmic Angels. So again, some really interesting things brewing, as always, for Stardom. So there just seems to be so much going on with Stardom in the positive way. All right, let's get into night number 9. Let me get a little drink here. Swig of water for the working man. So, okay. Night number 9 of the 5-star Grand Prix. This took place on the 27th of August in Corkin Hall. Another Corkin sellout in front of over 1,500 fans. I was doing a little research just to see what the biggest houses were in Corkin Hall this year. New Japan ran back-to-back nights in Corkin Hall for the G1, their G1 Climax, and they drew a little over 1,300 fans for both those nights. Where Stardom this night, 1,500 fans, over 1,500 fans, and over 1,500 fans the last time at Corkin Hall. So if you're taking Stardom, 5-star attendance in Corkin Hall versus New Japan attendance in Corkin Hall, the G1 versus the 5-star, Stardom's up 2-0. Stardom outdrew them in the 2 nights. So it's absolutely fantastic. That's an amazing note. And they did make mention that Stardom has over 200, and I think 8% growth from last year to this year, which is insane, because they did phenomenal growth in 2021, and that they've already outdrawn their tickets with still 4 months left to go. They sold more tickets this year than they did last year, and they are currently the number 2 company in Japan, surpassing Dragon Gate. Obviously, they're behind New Japan, so Bushiroad both has 1 and 2. And if you kind of look in the grand scheme of things, and if I'm wrong, please, let me know. You guys know how to get a hold of me. But like, the way that I look at it, I think Stardom is, and as far as like attendance and growth, I think they're number 4 in the world. Obviously, WWE is number 1 with the Bullet. Nobody's surpassing them. Nobody's doing their numbers. Geez, almost 5 million views. between Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. This is amazing. So they're number one. Number two to me would be AEW. Again, they're doing about 1 million views on their weekly Dynamite show, and then Rampage I think is like 300,000, and they do really well. Ticket sales and merchandising and whatnot. So they're number two, and then I would have New Japan number three, and then Stardom number four. I think Stardom is bigger than Impact. I think Stardom is bigger than AAA and CMLL. Again, I'm not too familiar with the Lucha Libre scene, so if I'm off here, if you guys think that I'm nuts, just let me know. But I have them pegged number four as far as attendance and growth and whatnot in the world, which is absolutely insane considering the fact that it's just an all-female promotion running strictly in Japan. But obviously, we're going to see them branch out. They'll be at the Royal Quest 2 show in England. They'll be over here, just a few hours away from me in New York City, the end of October. So it's going to be interesting to see the splash they can make in the international market. So, okay. I can say I rambled on enough, but I'm going to be rambling on here for probably the next 45 minutes or so. But anyway, let's get into night number 9 of the 5-star Grand Prix. We start at the Red Stars block. We see Mei Sakurai taking on Unagi Saka. Of course, you know how this was going to start. Big boots thrown right from the start to get going. We kind of figured that would go. Unagi gets the advantage. She hits a code breaker. Mei Sakurai comes back with the STF submission. Kind of swings the momentum back in her favor. Unagi comes back with some more stiff forearms and some stiff kicks. She goes for the shell shock, but she gets tripped up into the Mai Pan roll. 5 minutes, 29 seconds for Mei Sakurai, pulling up 6 points already into this tournament. And again, we still have very much more to go. So I don't think anybody thought that she would surpass 2 points. And here she is at 6. Solid match, 3 stars. We go to the Blue Stars block match where we see a couple of goose eggs. We have Hana at 0 and Hazuki at 0 losses, coming in with 12 points. So she's trying to go 7 for 7 here. Hana starts the match out fast against her fellow Stars member with a quick dropkick and goes right into the rolling knee bar. Crowd really getting behind Hana. That's another thing that she's really improving on. We've seen her, great matches with Mayu, Sai Kamatani, Julia, but the crowd really seems to be pulling for her in these matches, even against Mayu. No one ever. I don't think anybody was booing Mayu, but I think they were just wanted to see maybe Hana get an upset or get her first few points here. Hazuki hits a dropkick, followed by some brutal brute scrapes and some stiff strikes. Hana comes back with some stiff strikes, and she hits the pumping knee, and that Hazuki sells fantastic and feeds fantastic into the Hana special for 2. Eventually, Hazuki gets the advantage back with the Hazuki driver, senton, brainbuster combination. They got all this done in less than 7 minutes. 6 minutes, 36 seconds. I had this one at 4 stars, and I seem to be saying this every week, but this was my favorite Hana match. It seems like each and every outing she's getting better. That puts Hazuki up at 14 points. We switch back over to the Red Stars block where we see Tam Nakano going up against Koguma. And we got High Speed Tam is back. We saw her doing some high-speed offense in her match with the Izumi. We see it again here against the High Speed Genius. Some fantastic back and forth action from both Koguma and Tam Nakano. No real clear advantage. Tam hits the violent shooting for 2. Koguma tries for the Koguma roll-up. After several pin reversals, Tam gets the win. She winds up stacking up Koguma with the cartwheel roll-up. 5 minutes, 56 seconds. This was like all action. This was, all killer, no filler, 3.25 stars. And again, they do a really good job getting these early matches in, out. They have it make sense. They have the match get over, and they move on to the next one. I'm a big fan of High Speed Tam. Match number 4, we see Izumi taking on Saki from Colors from the Red Stars block. Izumi Sushi attempt early on as Izumi has Saki running like crazy. I thought it was, again, Izumi is the master of the high speed. I thought it was pretty funny how Izumi just kept having Saki running off the ropes, and I was getting blown up just watching it. And then she tries for the Izumi Sushi to take advantage of Saki just about getting blown up about 45 seconds in. I thought that was really, really good. Eventually, Saki doesn't want to take any more of Izumi's BS. She fires back with some boot scrapes and some stiff kicks. Izumi winds up getting the advantage back. She puts Saki down, hits the beautiful double stomp for 2. And then she comes off the rope, tries some more high-speed offense. But Saki says, oh no. She drops her with the big boot. Saki tries to stay on Izumi. Izumi counters with the C4 bomb German suplex. Saki gets back up with another big boot and creates some space and separation. I like how, we see a lot of people using that big boot, that running Yakuza kick. Julia uses it a lot. Obviously, we saw it on the outside of the Unagi and a Sakurai match. The way that Saki does it, she does a really good job as putting on his offense and defense, especially here, getting towards the crux of the end of the match. She does a great job to create space. And at this point, when she hits the big boot to stop Azumi's onslaught, they slow down, they sell, and this is when the crowd comes up. So really, really good psychology there. Azumi eventually comes back with a La Mystica into the Azumi Sushi for the win. 7 minutes, 14 seconds, 3 3/4 stars. And we see Azumi, the first wrestler in the Red Stars block to hit double digits. She hits 10. She did make mention that she will turn 20 on the final day of the 5-star Grand Prix, October 1st, the day before my daughter's birthday. So how about that? And she says it'll make it for a great birthday present for her to win the 5-star. So who knows? That kind of remains to be seen. And that would be a nice little maybe story, kind of maybe something that they're hinting towards, because I don't think too many people have Azumi pegged to win the 5-star. Afterwards, she does say that she does want to get back at Hazuki and Fukin Death, so they set up a 3-way match between one of the greatest high-speed wrestlers of all time, Hazuki, and Fukin Death in a 3-way, assuming that Death is going to probably be taking the pinfall there, because I don't see Hazuki or Azumi taking the loss, considering the fact of the absolute role these two are on, not only in the 5-star, but this year in general. Match number 5, we move over to the Blue Stars block as we see Mina Shirakawa and Mayu Iwatani both coming in at 4 points. These two waste no time getting into it as Mina, right off the bat, hits a rolling elbow and then an implant DDT, a draping implant DDT in the ring, and then drags poor Mayu out off the apron, and she hits one off the apron into the floor. Mina clearly targeting the neck of the icon Mayu Iwatani. Mayu comes back with a dragon suplex to kind of stop Mina's momentum. Mina hits Mayu with a fantastic forearm. Mayu comes back with a fantastic forearm super kick combo. It was really cool how she was able to move those moves together. Just like beautifully violent. Like she throws the right forearm and then she comes up with that desperation super kick. I thought that was really good. Mina fights through all of this, really getting the crowd behind her. Shoots another implant DDT, followed by the spinning back fist for 2. She follows up with an enziguri and then another DDT for 2. Crowd really rallies, Crowd is really rallying behind Mayu at this point because it just seems like Mina's just blitzing her. And it looks like that she's going to get the pinfall win. Mina goes for the Glorious Collection Mina, but Mayu reverses it, uses that experience, and stacks up Mina for the win. 4 minutes, 55 seconds. Again, this is less than 5 minutes, and they're able to tell such a fantastic story. So for all you independent wrestlers out there that when you see your name on the sheet and you only have 5 or 6 minutes, and you think, man, I can't do anything with 5 or 6 minutes, go back and watch this match. I had this at 3 3/4 stars. This is fantastic, and they told such a good story. They got it all done in less than 5 minutes. It's unbelievable. And Mina's just constantly improving. She's in the ring with the best of the best, especially here with Mayu. This takes Mayu up to 6 points. And again, Mina's just doing a great job of getting herself over. Even losing effort, it's very much like Hana as well. She's looking great in this 5-star. Moving on to match number 6, we stay in the Blue Stars block as we have Natsupoi coming in with 4 points against Suzu Suzuki at 0 points, which is still kind of just like a head scratcher. I know that she missed the first 2 nights of the 5-star, but still the fact that she doesn't have any points and she's slated against Julia in the final night. So you wonder if, I'm kind of just throwing it out there, you wonder if Suzu Suzuki is going to have 0 points going up into the final night with Julia, who a lot of people have her pegged to win the whole thing, and especially the Blue Stars block. You wonder if Suzu spoils Julia. Like if she comes in with 0 points and Julia is like tied with Suzuki or something like that, and then Suzu spoils the party for Julia, and she upsets her in the final night. Maybe that's something that they're going for, but I just can't see Suzu Suzuki. It's somebody that when they brought her over from Prominence, that they've done a great job highlighting her and protecting her, but yet she doesn't, have any points. But anywho, getting to the match, Suzu Suzuki is a phenomenal base for Natsupoi's offense. She's doing the cartwheels into the arm drags, and she does a great job feeding for her and knowing where she has to be in the ring to make all of Natsupoi's offenses look even better. Eventually, that spills outside real early on, and that's not the place you want to be against Suzu Suzuki because that's her territory. Poi gets body slammed off the top rope onto the apron by Suzu. Eventually, Poi comes back, hitting a series of strikes that sends Suzuki to the outside. And she finally hits the dive that she's been looking for, that she's been trying to set up since early on in the match. I thought it was really good psychology about how Natsupoi was trying to take out Suzu early on with the dive. The first time she couldn't get it. The second time she got body slammed onto the apron for her efforts. The third time she hits it. Really good psychology building up that spot and getting a good pop from the crowd. Really good forearm exchange between the two. That eventually turns into a German suplex exchange. Natsupoi ends up eating a huge forearm. And at that point, the crowd is really, really up for this one. Really good pacing, really good psychology, really good selling, really good job drawing the crowd in from both Natsupoi and Suzuki. And then Natsupoi, once she sees an opening, she basically hits like a death combo here. She hits a fairy strain, super kick, Pharaoh gift, fairy strain, super combination for the win. Just basically chaining all those big moves together to pick up another win for her that gets her to 6 points. I had this one at 3 3/4 stars. This one got done 10 minutes, 11 seconds. And again, Suzuki, again, scratched in my head. She's still at 0. But it's just an absolutely fantastic match. Phenomenal effort from both these ladies. Match number 8, we go over to the Blue Stars block as we see tag team partners going up against each other, as Mirai with 6 points against Ami Sourei with 6 points. So, as soon as the graphic for this match came up, or as soon as I knew this match was happening, you knew how this was going to start, to the shock of no one. By no means am I complaining, because we got a nice chop fest right early on. Eventually, the chop fest turns into a lariat fest as Ami Sourei hits the first lariat of the match. Mirai counters a lariat attempt into the double wrist lock, but Ami is able to break away free, and then she hits the thunder, another brutal series of lariats. She tries for the second lariat, but Ami hits like a thunderbolt, fire thunder driver for the win. I thought they could have packed a little bit more into this match. They did a really good job pacing things, keeping it slow, considering the fact of how fast the first few matches went. This one got done in a little over 10 minutes, 28 seconds, but I thought there would have been a little more brutality. It just seemed like there was clotheslines, there was chops. Everything made sense. The crowd was into it. But for me, this one kind of just missed just a little bit. 3.5 stars. Still a really good match, but I was expecting maybe a little bit more violence between the two. And who would have thought Ami Sourei picking up the win? I'm a big fan of how she does the fire thunder driver, and I like the name of it, like a thunderbolt. So big fan of Ami Sourei getting a new finish in this 5-star and beating her tag team partner. And considering the fact that most people would say that Mirai is the leader of that team, just based on the way that she's been pushed, that she's had a singles title shot, and that she's won the Cinderella tournament. So good job getting Ami Sourei up, over in this tournament, considering the fact that she had to qualify for this tournament, and she's at 8 points here. Moving on to match number 8, we go to the Red Stars block, where we see Risa Sera versus Himeka. Himeka tries to shoulder block Risa Sera into the front row right off the get-go. I mean, she's really coming at her like an offensive tackle on a 4th and 1 for all my American football fans. She really is drilling Risa with those shoulder tackles. Risa comes off a very good counter wrestler here, that anytime Himeka goes for a big bomb, she does a really good job countering Himeka's offense here, and she does a good job stacking her offense together. We saw that in the match against her tag partner, Micah. Himeka uses a few nasty lariats to build into the JP coaster that she gets for just a 2 count. Risa Sera counters a powerbomb attempt into a sit-out air raid crash. I thought that was really cool. My tag partner, Andy Header, he uses the air raid crash or kryptonite crunch, whatever you want to call it, as a finish. And literally, I paused my TV and I texted him. I said, you got to see this match, because this Risa Sera, she did your finish, but she did it in a sit-out version. So maybe a little sit-out air raid crash coming for all you Andy Header fans somewhere down the road. Anywho, Risa then follows up with a sit-out DVD, and then she heads to the top, but Himeka is able to cut her off with the power bomb, the concussion bomb, gets the win, 7 minutes and 6 seconds, 3.5 stars. I'm assuming that Risa, who does a really good job piling her big offensive moves together. We saw her hit the kryptonite crunch, and then she did the sit-out DVD. She was probably going for the double knees, but as she was coming up, Himeka cuts her off and then just hits the one concussion bomb for the win, and basically just stops the momentum of Risa Sera in the match. And that just goes to show you just how resilient Saya Kamatani was in their championship match at Stardom X Stardom just a few weeks ago, considering the fact that she ate so many power bombs and so many concussion bombs, and they did a good job of getting the move back over. Saya kind of kicking out of Himika's go-to move. Here's Himika's first singles match back since that title loss, and she was just one concussion bomb off a counter. So I thought Stardom did a really good job. Risa Sera has 6. Both of them had 6 points going into this match. I thought they did a good job getting Himika back over and getting her finisher back over, where it just took one as a counter to get the win, and that pulls Himika up at 8 points. Match number 9, the co-main event, we saw Maika versus Utami. Maika coming at 4 points, Utami coming at 8. And these two this is a rematch from several. Maika had 2 championship matches, 2 championship opportunities against Utami when Utami was the red belt champion. And this is a rematch from several 5-star Grand Prix matches that they've had, including the finals of Utami's win back in 2020. So I was really, really looking forward to this match. I'm sure everybody was. And this did not disappoint at all. It's power versus power as Utami gets the first advantage of the match, sending Maika to the outside after a series of shoulder tackles and clotheslines. She follows up with a body slam onto the outside and then throws Maika back in the ring. And then Maika counters a lariat into a crucifix and then rolls her through into the Ring of Saturn. Something new there we've seen from Maika, using a little bit of agility there. I thought that was pretty cool. She follows up with the Tully Blanchard-style slingshot suplex, and then a lariat contest follows. We knew this was going to happen. And again, by no means am I complaining. These two just wind up clotheslining each other back and forth, just to test the wills to see who's going to break. Utami eventually slips Maika into the rear naked choke to counter Maika's power. I thought that was really good. And then she pulls Maika up into the buckle, and then she hits a series of short lariats, and then hits a superplex of her own for 2, and then she hits a deadlift German suplex for 2. I thought that was a really cool visual, how she has Maika in the turnbuckle, and she just keeps hitting a series of lariats, and she hits the superplex, and then she picks up Maika in a deadlift German suplex. I thought that was really good. Really cool visual. Utami goes for the BT bomb, but Maika is able to slip out from the back. She goes for the discus lariat, but as she goes all the way around, we've seen this so many times in Misawa's matches, as she's just so close to throwing that forearm, she winds up eating something in return, and she eats a big forearm from Utami. I thought the timing of that was just perfect. At the end, you hear the crowd go, ooh. I thought that was great. Utami comes off the ropes like she's going to hit a big, big clothesline, but her momentum gets caught into the Michinoku driver. We've seen the Michinoku driver put Utami away before, but Maika can't follow up because of just all the brutal damage she's taken from Utami. But as the two of them get back on their feet, she hits a discus lariat and follows up with not one, but 2 Michinoku drivers for the win. 14 minutes, 11 seconds, 4.5 stars. This was absolutely fantastic. This was epic, and just another win for Maika on Utami in the 5-star. Just seems like with the 5-star advantage, other than the finals from 2020, seems like Maika has has Utami's card there. She looks like she really she knows the cheat code to Utami, in the 5-star. But again, these two, and I think I tweeted out as soon as I saw this match, these two just can't miss. Just an absolutely fantastic co-main event in Korakuen Hall, sold out Korakuen Hall. And you wonder, how in the world is the main event going to be able to follow that match? But in my opinion, boy, they sure did. We go over to the Blue Stars block as we see Starlight Kid taking on Julia. Both these competitors locked in at 4 points. We saw earlier in the night the little shoving match that the two of them had. Obviously, there's a lot of bad blood between these two, and I thought you knew this match lived up to the hype when this was uploaded on Stardom World mere hours after the match happened. So good on them getting this up and out to the world for us to see. So thank you, Sonny. Keep up the great work. I know you're overloaded with so much stuff from all these fantastic shows that Stardom is giving us. So Julia comes out first, and that sets up the jump. So Starlight Kid, she comes in, she does her entrance, she does her split on the apron, and then Julia basically pulls in a Weedle tie as she pulls poor Starlight Kid mid-split right off the apron and just starts beating the crap out of her, including ripping off her mask. Very much in the vein of like Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio Jr. from Halloween Havoc 97, where he just kept ripping at the mask and ripping at the mask, and you almost saw Starlight Kid's face there. And Starlight Kid always jokes, "You'll never see my nose," and I don't even think the bell rang, and we saw her nose as that mask was kind of just hanging on, as Julia just being super stiff towards Starlight Kid. I mean, we're seeing a super aggressive Julia, even more aggressive than she was. I don't want to say more aggressive, but as aggressive maybe in her stuff with Tan. Going back towards the beginning of last year. So it just really, Julia's she's not playing around. She lost the first 2 matches of the 5-star. She's not playing around here. And eventually with the two of them, excuse me, two of them brawling on the outside, it turns into a mini Oedo Tai versus DDM brawl. That pretty much just sets up Starlight Kid to get away from Julia a little bit, and she sees her opportunity as she hits a perfect Ase moonsault into everyone. That was a really, really cool visual. Big headbutts from Julia onto Starlight Kid. Some wildly stiff shots back and forth between the two. I mean, I know Starlight Kid's not, I don't know what the drinking age is over in Japan. I know here in the States it's 21, but Julia owes Starlight Kid a beer, I'll tell you that, and probably vice versa, because these are some stiff shots back and forth. Starlight Kid hits the Northern Lights plex for 2. Julia comes back Starlight Kid gets some momentum. She goes to the top rope where she's more comfortable. Julia cuts her off with the butterfly superplex Falcon Arrow combination that we've been seeing her use in this 5-star. For the count of 2, Starlight Kid gets the advantage back onto Julia, and she gets the Black Tiger leg crusher submission for a near tap out. I thought that was really cool how they worked that. They sold it as Starlight Kid was really trying to get her leg over Julia's throat, and once she did, it looked like we were going to get a near tap out, and Julia did a really good job selling it and teasing the tap out. Eventually she gets the ropes. Starlight Kid pulls Julia off the ropes to the Tiger suplex for 2. She goes back to the top rope to try to finish her off with the moonsault, but Julia does a great job of getting in position and countering into the Bianca. She gets on top of Starlight, or she has the advantage on Starlight Kid at that point. She goes for the Glorious Driver, but it's reversed into the Black Tiger Driver, which Julia kicks out of 2. Starlight Kid, again, stays on Julia. Psychology here is she goes back to the moonsault again, and that time she hits it. But instead of getting the 3 count, Julia doesn't kick out at 2, but Starlight Kid picks up Julia at 2. And I think that's something that Julia said in the promo after the IWGP Women's stick draw. She said, "You're hard headed. You're hard headed." So she tried for the moonsault a few minutes earlier, didn't get it. She hits it here, but instead of staying for the 3 count, she picks Julia up, which makes sense going into that promo that she is hard headed. She had the win. You hit the moonsault there. At this point, Kid is just running on emotions as her mask is torn. She's just throwing some wicked, wild shots. She tries for the Tiger suplex again. Julia escapes. I thought this was genius for how brutal this match was. This finish was genius. So she escapes the Tiger suplex. She baits her in with another wild shot. Julia is able to get the Ganosuke clutch roll for the win at 11 minutes, 32 seconds. I thought it was just brilliant, just how brutal, stiff this match was. And you can see that Julia got into Starlight Kid's head with the ripping of the mask and the fact that she had her beat after the moonsault, and she picked her up and baited her into a wild shot that Julia was able to counter. You figured the way this was going was going to end in submission or like 2 glorious drivers, like a big bump on the apron, but it didn't. And that was the brilliant psychology of the match, that Julia baits her in to throw a wild strike, and Julia counters it, and she gets the Ganosuke clutch. And perfect. The way she had it on was absolutely perfect for the 3 count. I thought that was just the psychology of this match, the pacing, the way the crowd was bought in, up and down. It was absolutely fantastic. This to me was 5 stars. This is definitely going to make my top 5 at the end of this podcast when I give my top 5. This was fantastic. And I think this match, again, I talked about how you're going to be able to follow Utami and Micah. I know some people like Utami and Micah better, and that's fine. Hey, your opinion. You can like what you like. But I thought that this match did a great job of it. I'm a big fan of layers and layers of storytelling and psychology, and they were able to do this in just over 11 minutes. I thought that was fantastic, how Julia used Starlight Kid's aggression and her emotion against her. So I thought that was a really good job. And then Julia gets on the microphone, says the only belt that I'm interested in is the red one. So, there it is. We're doing a great job building Julia back up after her first two losses against Hazuki and Mirai in this tournament, just by not only getting her a bunch of wins, but quality wins, main event wins. So I thought that was an absolute fantastic job done here. And it's something that maybe somewhere down the road, if Julia does win the red belt, do you have a mask versus title match? And you can kind of lean back on this one and say, well, here was basically, kind of the springboard for it. So, I mean, that's definitely somewhere Stardom can go in 2023. But again, that's just kind of me fantasy booking or booking like 7-8 months in advance, as we still have a lot of this 5-star to go through. Absolutely fantastic match, especially those last few matches. So we move on to the last night to review. We have night number 10. So we start with a non-tournament match. We have a handicap match with Lady C and Hina taking on the team of Fukin Death, Rina, and Ruaka. Saki Kashima comes out with the Uedo Tai group and states that Fukin Death feels bad and doesn't want to have a handicap match. She said she will be an impartial ref. Saki Kashima distracts the ref for the good, the first few minutes of the match. We get some comedy stuff that ensues. We see some Danny Davis for all my 1980s wrestling fans, some Danny Davis style of fishing, or some Nick Patrick NWO fishing, or some Bill Alfonso ECW Taz style of fishing, as he quick counts everything for Uedo Tai and slow counts everything for the the Queen's Quest team. Eventually, Lady C has enough of Fukin Death's crap, and she boots her, and then goes back into the handicap match. Fine match. Eventually, Death rolls up Hina off a blind tag. I was a big fan of that. Very much like a Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express finish with the blind tag. She didn't see it. 9 minutes, 20 seconds, 3 stars. Okay, now we get into our first block match of the evening. We go to the Blue Stars block as we see Mirai he was on a little bit of a losing streak here, taking on Hana. Hana does a great job using the headlock to wear Mirai down in the beginning. And I thought that we would see Hana coming out of here super aggressive, kind of like how we've seen her pretty much in every match leading up to this. But she doesn't. They do some chain wrestling, and she won't let go of the headlock. So we're just seeing another kind of another side of Hana here. She's going into a deeper bag of her offense here. So I thought that was really cool, how instead of her coming out with drop kicks and forearms, she kind of almost out wrestles the reigning Cinderella champion. So I thought that was really good. Mirai goes off to Hana's arm. Hana hits a pumping knee and rocker jocker combo for 2. Again, crowd really getting behind Hana here. Mirai misses a left-handed lariat, but she floors Hana with the right arm. I thought that was very like Dynamite Kid style. You've seen like a lot of Dynamite Kids matches, especially in Japan, where he builds up this left arm lariat, but there's sometimes that somebody ducks it, and then they'll follow right back into the right arm lariat. Stan Hansen as well. I think there was a Hansen, Kawada match where he misses the lariat, the right arm, and then I think Kawada just turns right into the left. So I thought that was cool. She winds up hitting Hana with the left arm lariat, then after she hits the right arm, and then locks in the double wrist lock for the tap. 7 minutes, 51 seconds, 3.5 stars. Again, just another fantastic outing from Hana here. And again, I don't expect her to come out of this many points. Maybe 2, maybe we'll see 4. But she's really doing a great job getting over. And I thought that, my prediction show or the preview show I did a while back, I said that I think Hana's going to come out of this 5-star, with so much more momentum and so much more experience, so much more confidence, because she's working the best here. And so far, everything's been spot on. And that gets Mirai out of a little slump that she had, and that will put her up at 8 points. Match number 3, we stay at the Blue Stars as we see Saya Ito versus Momo Watanabe. I was really looking forward to this match. As you folks know, that I'm a big fan of hard-hitting wrestling. Momo Watanabe, one of the hardest hitters in all of Stardom. Saya Ito, obviously, as well, ever since coming back from that injury, has really impressed me, with her offense. And her getting herself over with her great matches, win or loss. Momo hits a series of kicks on the start, nice little onslaught on her that sends Saya Ito to the outside, where of course she's attacked by Uedo Tai. But where are the Stars members? Like, where Momo Kogo didn't come to her rescue, no Mayu, nobody came out. It was she's just getting beat up by Stars for, a minute or two. They throw Saya back in the ring, and then she lights Saya up with a series of kicks. But as each one is hit, she's like the absorbing man for all my comic book fans here. After she gets beat up by Uedo Tai, she turns in the absorbing man, or the absorbing woman, because she's eating these kicks and she's kind of just firing up with each one. You can see her getting stronger, in response. And you know what's going to happen if you see a Saya eat a match. You know that Momo Watanabe is going to be eating these chops. And Momo, being the fantastic performer that she is, she's going to be feeding well for these chops. So she sure did. And she just starts lighting up Momo with the chops. Eventually, she gets the really nice advantage on Momo. She hits that beautiful power slam off the top rope that she's been going to. I thought that was a really good sequence there. Momo gets the advantage back with some more strikes, and she hits a pair of Meteors for 2. Momo hits a head kick and B driver for 2. That doesn't get the job done, as you see her getting frustrated. She tries for the Tequila Sunrise, but Saya Ida rolls through, and then she rolls up Momo Watanabe for maybe the biggest upset so far of this tournament. Saya Ida gets her first 2 points as Momo Watanabe, the finalist of last year's tournament, is stuck on 6 points. I thought this was a really good storytelling there, just showing Saya Ida's resilience. 3 3/4 stars. This one got done 7 minutes, 36 seconds. A surprising but kind of satisfying finish there, as they did you want to get the crowd to pop. And after Saya Ida was eating those kicks, especially those head kicks towards the end, everyone thought that Momo would just blitz her and put her away, but that did not happen. So good job getting Saya Ida's resilience over. Match number 4, we go to the Red Stars block as we see Cosmic Angels explode. Well, former Cosmic Angel Mai Sakurai going up against Tam Nakano. And you can see Tam is going to this match, and she's just still pissed at Mai's betrayal of Cosmic Angels a few months ago. Tam basically takes over on Mai Sakurai on the outset. She locks in that Dragon Sleeper off the top rope that sends Mai Sakurai to the outside. Quick little brawl on the outside. Eventually, they go back in the ring, and Mai Sakurai uses the STF as a counter hold. I thought that was really good. I'm a big fan of Mai Sakurai using the STF. She does a really good job, locking her hands either on the, on the thumbless grip or the hand over wrist grip. So I'm a big fan of that, how she uses it. I like to see her get a few wins with that. Mai keeps the pressure on Tam Nakano using the big boot and the showstopper for 2. The 2 trade blows on the top rope. Eventually, Tam gets the better. She hits that knee, that Doug Williams-style bomb scare knee off the top rope. And then she hits the German suplex, Viking shooting for 2. And then Tam fires up with the head kick and the Tiger suplex for 3. 3 1/4 stars, 9 minutes, 15 seconds. This was pretty good, but for some reason, to me, it just didn't get out of second gear. I thought that maybe they had a better match in them. We didn't get it here, but I think the psychology of it made sense of Tam really needing a win here. She only had 4 points. And Mai Sakurai was going into this with 6. So it was like, hey, I left Cosmic Angels, and I'm beating you in points going into this match. So I think Tam had a point to prove, especially towards the end of the match. Match number 5, we stay at the Red Stars block as we see Himeka taking on Saki Kashima. Saki used a little bit of high-speed offense to try to throw Himeka off her game, and she even uses the old Dickie Murdoch Gravedigger, which is basically you come off the top rope with your knee into the opponent's the back of their neck and take a face plant. Himeka uses a lariat, and then she goes in the Argentina backbreaker as she doesn't want Saki Kashima to try any more tricks, and Saki gets the quick tap out. I kind of turned away for a second. I'm like, oh, okay, so that was kind of it. It was fast, it was quick. They really didn't get into too much of the teasing of the Kishikasai, which, as we all know, is the deadliest move in all of Stardom. So Himeka didn't want to play that game. She hits the one big lariat, and then she's like, nope. Picks her up for the Argentina backbreaker and gets the tap out in 4 minutes, 25 seconds. To me, it will get the gentlemen's or gentlewomen 3 stars. Okay, rolling right along. We stay in the Red Stars block as we see Azumi taking on Maika. So we get so high speed doesn't work on Maika here. Azumi tries her high speed offense, but Maika's like, absolutely not. You're not going to have it here. Azumi attacks Maika's arm. Maika fights through the pain as she just counters a lot of Azumi's high speed offense, gets her into the turnbuckle and hits a perfect superplex. That's a really cool visual, just how she was able to kind of hold her there for a little bit. Reminded me of C.W. Anderson in the old ECW days. Azumi winds up countering some of Maika's power offense, and she puts her down with a head kick, and she hits a double stomp. And then Azumi comes back off the ropes. Maika tries to hit the Michinoku driver, but Azumi is able to counter the Azumi Sushi, for the 2 count. And then once Azumi gets up once Micah kicks out of the Azumi Sushi, Azumi does a great job being in the perfect place in the right time. She eats the discus lariat, and Micah comes back up with the Michinoku driver for the 1, 2, 3. I thought this was great. They got this done in 6 minutes, 54 seconds, so right around 7 minutes. Azumi is doing a great job in these 5-star matches. She's going less than 10 minutes, and I had this at 4 stars. I thought this was terrific. She's had great matches with Shiri. She had a great match with Himeka, and a great match here with Micah. So I thought this was terrific, and that puts Micah up at 8 points. So just a fantastic job. Really, really good match between the two. Good job setting the pace, and this just shows that Micah can tell a really good story in a sub 8-minute match. So great job there. We move on to staying in the Red Stars block here as we see Shuri going up against Koguma, both wrestlers coming in with 6 points. So we have the World of Stardom champion against the former High Speed champion and the former Goddess of Stardom champion. Quick game of cat and mouse between the two to start. Koguma has Shuri running around all over the building to try to, I don't know if she's trying to wear her out here or what, but I thought that was pretty funny. But once Shuri gets a hold of Koguma, she basically tries to kick the bear out of Koguma as he lays in some stiff kicks. Koguma responds with the best way she knows how, and that's to try to get out of this match as soon as possible with some quick near falls, and that doesn't work, but eventually she gets on Shuri with a few strikes and hits a missile drop kick, but Shuri fires back with some strikes, and then she goes for the Ruin, but then Koguma counters the Koguma roll for 2. Koguma hits a big German suplex. That fires Shuri up as she strong styles out of it, fires up with a big knee. She goes for the buzzsaw kick, which we've seen Shuri win a good majority of her matches here in the 5-star. But Koguma counters it. She does a schoolboy, and then she basically just keeps rolling around with Shuri. Eventually, she has her right where she needs her and has her dizzy just enough as she uses the back press, rolling Koguma roll for the win. And Shuri has 3 losses already in this tournament. She hasn't taken a singles loss pinfall in roughly around a year going into this 5-star. She gets beat by Utami. She gets rolled up with the Kishi Kasai by Saki Kajima. And then Koguma upsets her here. So it's almost like, we're seeing some kinks in the armor of Shuri. Is the pressure getting to her of being the champion? 8 minutes, 20 seconds, 3 3/4 stars. I thought Shuri would have had, 1 loss in a draw, maybe 2 losses in a draw. I didn't see her dropping 3 matches in this tournament, but she's dropped 3 already. We still have a month to go, so who knows what'll happen there. Match number 8, when this came up as it was like the match 8 of 10, I was like kind of like scratching my head. I was like, okay, because this is a match that I know that everybody was looking forward to. As we go over to the Blue Stars, as we have the undefeated Hazuki coming at 14 points against my wrestler of the year and the Wonder of Stardom champion Saya Kamatani with 6 points. Yeah, I was like, well, this has got to be the main event, right? And I was like, well, the next 2 matches have a lot they got a lot cut out for them. And boy, they sure did, as these two start throwing kicks and forearms right from the get-go. Obviously, Hazuki has the advantage in strikes, or so we would think. But Saya Kamatani's strikes and her forms are getting much better. The way she places them, just the velocity she throws them, where she throws them. I think Saya's doing a really good job upping her striking game, especially going into this tournament. And just the brutality that she's faced defending that Wonder of Stardom Championship belt. Saya Kamatani gets the early advantage. She hits a springboard crossbody inside of the ring that sends Hazuki to the outside of the ring, and then she hits the springboard crossbody plunge on the outside of the ring. So we see her chain those 2 moves together back to back. I thought that was really cool. Hazuki comes back with a missile dropkick, and then she goes into her face washes as we see Hazuki Mania running wild here. The 2 come back in the middle of the ring and start exchanging some stiff slaps, some really, really stiff slaps. And then they follow that up with some stiff pump kicks. So it's almost, again, like a test of wills here. You see the 2 of them exchanging forearms in the beginning, and then you see them exchanging really stiff slaps. There was one that Saya sold really well that Hazuki slapped her. And you see, like, Hazuki looked like she almost went out for a second. She almost, fell out of the ring. Very much like Vanderlei Silva and Rampage Jackson from the old Pride days. I mean, it's just brutal. And then they come back and start pump kicking each other. I thought that was really good. Hazuki gets the advantage by locking in the crossface and then transitioning into the Rings of Saturn. She does that really, really smooth. Hazuki hits a really sick headbutt and then a senton and the Hazuki driver. She tries for the brainbuster, but Saya Kamatani slips out. She has the European clutch, and I thought that would be the finish, folks. I'm like, oh, that's a good way to, stop Hazuki's momentum is Saya Kamatani going back to the European clutch that we've seen her use a lot towards the end of last year to build her up for her Wonder Stardom Championship match with Tam. But Hazuki slips out at 2. I thought it was a great near fall. Not only did I bite, but pretty much everybody in the audience bit as well. And then Saya did the schoolboy powerbomb for 2. She goes for the Star Crusher, but as she's coming down, she gets countered into the small package. That gets a near fall for Hazuki at 2. And then Saya Kamatani hits a Kikegoye. Very she's channeling her hero Kodabushi. Kodabushi has the Kamagoye, which is basically the big knee strike. And Saya Kamatani, we've seen her use this before, but instead of the knee strike, I'm just going to call it the Kikegoye. I mean, if anybody knows that she's got a fancy name for it, let me know. Then she changed that into the Star Crusher for 2. You can see the frustration on her face, but she stays focused, stays on Hazuki as she pulls her into the corner of the ring. She hits the Star Crusher into the 450 splash. That gets the job done. 4.5 stars, 12 minutes, 47 seconds. Absolutely love this match. This was terrific. And that will get Hazuki's first loss. We wonder if that's going to halt some momentum from her. So we shall see. Moving on to the co-main event, we got Natsupoi at 6 points, Julia at 6 points, Blue Stars block action. Big fight feel in this one, as you can just see the focus in Julia because of her betrayal against Donald Del Mundo just about a month or so ago. We saw Julia super stiff and super just pissed off and focused in her Cork and Hall main event the night before against Starlight Kid. What's going to happen to poor Natsupoi here? Julia really lays her stuff in here. I mean, really just her slaps, her kicks. She's, again, very much against if you like Julia in the Corkin show, you're going to like her here because she wasn't messing around. Poi finally hits a German suplex and a sliding dropkick combination for her first advantage of the match, and basically kind of just giving her a breather. At this point, Natsupoi has the opportunity to really fire back on Julia, and she does. She gets her in the mount position, and she starts slapping Julia, very similar to the position Julia had her in earlier in the match. She's really not holding back. Neither of them are. At this point, Natsupoi really has a nice advantage on Julia, and she goes to where she's most comfortable. She tries to go up top. Julia cuts her off, and she hits that beautiful butterfly superplex Falcon Arrow combination for 2. And then at that point, Julia just does not give Natsupoi any time to breathe as she just piles on the big moves one after another. Some big strikes, and then she hits the beautiful backdrop driver into the glorious driver for the dominate. I mean, really just kind of dominated here in the last 2 minutes of the match. Really, proving a point. You should have never left, and this is the punishment that you get. 10 minutes, 56 seconds. I had this at 4 stars. She stays on Natsupoi after the match. That gets Tam, Natsupoi's tag partner. Tam gets in the ring. We get a little pull apart between Tam and Julia, possibly setting up what many people believe will be the finals of this 5-star Grand Prix. And if it's not, and Julia, wins the belt, then, maybe it's a preview for one of Julia's first big title matches. And then we see Mai Sakurai get involved as well with Natsupoi and Tam. So that's another thing that was teased, from where I'm sitting, was teased as well, as maybe we'll get an Oh My Julia versus Tom Natsupoi. God, that's a Stardom Championship match somewhere down the line. So not only was this a good match, not only was it a really good way to show Natsupoi's ability to fight back, not only was it a really good showcase of Julia just really piling on moves, to get that win and that revenge win and to get 2 more points to pump her up at 8 points. But it did a good job building a future matchup between Julia and Tam and a future matchup between Julia and Mai Sakurai versus Natsupoi and Tam. So this match, in one match, you're able to get a lot done. So kudos onto Stardom for just really good booking there. So we move on to the main event. We see Ami Sourei coming in with 8 points, trying to get into double digits against Mayu Iwatani with 6 points. Ami starts out really fast and starts targeting Mayu's back. She hits some chops, some power slams, some suplexes, and then goes into the Boston Crab, really trying to slow down Mayu. Ami hits some really thunderous chops that not only does Mayu feed perfect for, but she sells as well. And obviously Mayu is, I talk about all the time, how great of a seller she is. Mayu fires back with some stiff forearms, and she basically, and then she goes to the top rope, and she hits that flat back drop kick that I call the Joshi drop kick. Shout out to Shane Hagedorn, who I remember he named that when we were watching All Japan Women's Match way back when we were training at Ring of Honor. But anywho, I thought that was a really cool visual as the bigger Ami Sourei took a really nice bump and then kind of just fed all the way across the ring for Mayu to really come back with a lot of her offense. But eventually Ami Sourei comes back with a clothesline and a Blue Thunderbomb for 2. She picks her up for the corkscrew brainbuster, and that only gets the 2. And then Ami tries to fire up with a lariat. Mayu looks like she's going to hit the crucifix bomb, but she kind of slips out through and then rolls up Ami, basically just catches her out of nowhere for the win. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. That did kind of come out of nowhere. Kind of a short main event, 8 minutes and 10 seconds, 3 3/4 stars. Nice seeing Mayu getting a win here. Not only win, but a main event win. Again, I would have probably put Hazuki and Saya Kamatani in the main, or Natsupoi and Julie in the main. But this was kind of just like a different main event match where you just saw Mayu kind of fight back from underneath, as Ami Sourei probably had about 65% of this match. But then again, it just goes to show you, kind of implants in our head that any match, whether it's match 1, match 5, or match 9 or 10, any match can end either with a strike, a big move, a submission, or as we see here, in a roll-up. So fantastic job from both ladies as Mayu goes to 8 points. Okay, so now we will go to the standings. And yes, I know we're running a little bit past an hour. So we're going to go to the standings. I'm going to give my top 5 matches and then just a quick preview on this weekend show. So Blue Stars block, we have Hazuki leading the pack at 14. And then we see a giant tie at 8 points. Mayu Iwatani, 8 points. Saya Kamatani, 8 points. Julia, 8 points. Ami Sourei, 8 points. Mirai, 8 points. Then we see 2 ties at 6. Natsupoi and Momo Watanabe. Starlight Kid and Mina Shirakawa at 4 points. That's another head scratcher to me. Starlight Kid only with 4 points. I imagine she's going to get on a roll here as we get into the later half of this tournament. Saya Iida got on the board with 2 points. Suzu Suzuki and Hana both at the goose egg at 0. Red Stars block, we have tied at the top Azumi at 10 points, Himeka at 10 points. But since Azumi beat Himeka, she has the tiebreaker. So as of this recording, Azumi is ahead of the Red Stars block. So for some reason, this tournament was to end now. It would be Hazuki versus Azumi in the finals. And I don't think anybody would complain about that. But again, we have a lot to go. Kogama, 8 points. Utami, 8 points. Maika, 8 points. Risa Sera at 6 points. Shuri, the champion, at only 6 points. That's kind of a shocker to me. Mei Sakurai at 6 points. Another shocker for her just chaining up some wins here. Tam at 6 points. The 2 Sakis, Kashima and Saki from Colors, both at 4 points. Unagi at 2. And Momo Kogo at the goose egg at 0. Okay, so again, I don't have these written down. When I do the wrap-up special for this, I'll probably have my top 10 matches and I'll have them written down. So my top 5 favorite matches at the top of my head. Number 5, we will go with Hazuki versus Natsupoi. Number 4, we will go with Saya Kamatani, Starlight Kid. Number 3 will be Starlight Kid, Julia. Number 2 will be Julia, Hazuki. And number 1 will be Shuri and Utami. I see a lot of people that have several different lists than mine, which is great. It just goes to show you how many great matches there are, and everybody has a different flavor of ice cream. It all depends on what you like. Some people like chocolate, some people like Rocky Road, some people like cookies and cream. At the end of the day, folks, it's all ice cream, and the delicious ice cream that we are all devouring is Stardom, and is this fantastic 5-star Grand Prix. So please let me know what your top 5 favorite matches are. If you want to give me a top 10, you can do that as well. So, let me know. Okay, before we wrap this up, I just want to preview just a few of the matches we have coming up this weekend. Coming up on Friday and Saturday, Shuri is both taking on Maika and Himeka on respective days. Those are 2 matches I'm really, really looking forward to. We also have the match I'm looking forward to the most this weekend. No disrespect to any of the matches. No disrespect to Clash at the Castle or AEW's All Out. But the match I want to see the most this weekend is Mayu Iwatani taking on Saya Kamatani. We're super excited for that. Julia, who's been on an absolute tear, an absolute roll against Mina Shirakawa. Really, really looking forward to that. Ami Sourei versus Starlight Kid. Ami Sourei, I think, will be a great base for Starlight Kid's offense. Mayu versus Natsupoi is another one I'm going to be really looking forward to. Mirai, Momo Watanabe. So we have some really good matches coming up in the 5-star. So thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Thanks for hanging in here. Again, it feels like it's going to be my longest episode. I said I was going to go through New Blood 4 in a quickly fashion, and I didn't. Plus, I got on a roll with those fancy rhymes. But real quick, just to close out the show, I just want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank everybody for the support, all the fantastic feedback that I've been getting. Any questions, comments, please, hit me up, Matt Turner OF, on the Instagram and or the Twitter. I also want to thank everybody for listening to the Patreon. Patreon is rocking and rolling as we just dropped the Tony Storm 2017 5-star review. And then this next week, our watch along for our Red Belt tier Patreon members will be Momo versus Utami from the 2020 5-star. And then also the September poll has just closed. So for September, I will be reviewing. This is for our white belt and our red belt tier Patreon members. I will be reviewing Io Shirai's V10 of her red belt reign. Me and Rob did, I think it was the very first episode of the Patreon. We did her V14. So by all means, go back and listen to that one, as I will be covering her V10. And then the Julia Wonder of Stardom reign as well, I'll be covering. And probably what I'm going to do is I'll probably do the Io one first, just because the Julia one will drop towards the end of the month of September. And I have a feeling towards the end of the month of September, Julia will be a hot topic, as she will be in contention for this year's 5-star Grand Prix. So sometimes I get a little lucky with timing, so I think that's what I'm going to do. And I've had so many people, I know this is running long, and I apologize. I've had so many people, like so many of my friends that are wrestlers, like in the industry, that I'm constantly telling to watch Stardom, that after the Starlight Kid Julia match, there was so many gifts and so many little clips online. I had so many of my friends text me and say, what's going on with this? Who's this Julia? Like, I like her look. I like her entrance. I like her star power. I like, the way she chains these moves together. So it just seems like Julia is going to be somebody that is, well, not going to be somebody. We've been saying it a lot on this podcast. I mean, you really have to be living under a rock to not notice the star power and potential that Julia has. So I have more and more of my fellow wrestling friends asking me more questions about Julia than any other wrestler, not only in Stardom, but like I follow a lot of Pro Wrestling Noah. I watch a decent amount of All Japan. So that seems to be Julia seems to kind of be a hot topic amongst, the wrestling and wrestling fans over here in the States. So I think that with the momentum Stardom's on, the only way to continue to grow is by pushing Julia to the moon. And it looks like, based on her performance lately in the 5-star, that's where they're going to go. Kind of seems like a no-brainer. So I kind of just wanted to share that with the fantastic listeners and friends of the Stardom cast, as Julia's catching a lot of eyes over here, in North America. So, because I know we have a lot of listeners all over the world. Okay, I have talked long enough. As you can hear, my voice is getting a little hoarse. So again, I thank everybody so much for listening. I thank your support. Again, questions, comments, anything that you need from me, please let me know. Matt Turner OF, Instagram, and or the Twitter. If you're looking to continue to support the show, please sign up for our Patreon. Again, we have so much stuff going on there. I just mentioned before what we just released and what's coming down the pike, and for our watch along episodes that drop every Monday. So that is that, folks. I am going to close this one out for episode 78. I am your friend. I am your buddy. I am your host, Matt Turner. Remember, we're all in this together, and everybody's different. Everybody's special. Have a great day and a great night. Bye-bye.